Because the times
Woke up this morning thinking about
Those summer days.
best friend got caught up when I stayed in Douglasville. Doing something myself by myself. I'm a
What's good with y'all? So, y'all see it. You know what I'm saying? Y'all see it, right? It's the merch. It's the merch. Y'all go get y'all some hoodies. You know what I'm saying? Some clocks on the wall. You know, some stickers you can put on your computer. Even a phone case you can put on your phone or a tablet case. We don't discriminate. That being said, let's get into this video. Jack Harlow. The Jack Harlow experiment has failed. I don't get what that means, but let's get into it.
Find out more.
Like, I'm listening to the songs and I'm like, he doesn't seem like a polished pro yet, which is one of those things where, like, I'm wondering if the album came too quick. And by the way, I know the label had to put out an album because he's too hot. But, bro, like, even hearing him kind of, keep up with Drake, I feel like he's getting his legs under him, and I feel like this album kind of deflated the balloon, then added to it.
In an industry where record labels trade in your excitement for cold, hard cash, hype can be dangerous. And while building hype is a necessary evil of the music industry, the problem arises when you can't live up to it. And at the moment, this is a lesson that Jack Harlow is learning the hard way. Slated for release in May, Come Home The Kids Miss You was set to be Jack Harlow's coronation as pop rap's next golden boy. But somehow, someway, what should have been his victory lap feels like more of a diversion. Or worse, a bona fide flop. Built up to be one of the biggest musical events of the year, this project was supposed to be his Take Care, his Born Sinner, or perhaps even his graduation. Instead, it's underwhelmed and underperformed. And with that, Harlow's status as next up has taken considerable, but not quite irreparable damage. But to make sense of what the album's lukewarm reception really means, we need to consider his come up and how it tied into the rollout of the project. A rapper since his adolescence, Come Home The Kids Miss You seemed like a fairy tale story and was built up in promo appearances as the eventual payoff of a lengthy grind that really picked up steam when he was signed to DJ Drama's Generation Now.
At the time, I wasn't surprised. I mean, you always look back and it's like when you look at pictures of yourself in middle school, like you're like, ugh, that could have been so much better. But I always had something raw. I mean, when I was 12 years old, I had something, there's something there. I just salute him and everyone that's been supporting me for the longest for seeing the vision.
After kicking the rollout off with Nailtech, Harlow's stock would experience another organic increase when he received props from none other than Kanye West. Labeled as top 5 right now by Kanye, It wouldn't take long till he was linking up with Ye for the sessions for the ill-fated Donda 2. After setting the world alight with a TikTok snippet, the eventual release of the Fergie sampling First Class felt like a landmark moment for Harlow, and before long, it made its ascent to the top of the charts. In doing so, it marked the first time that he'd made it to the summit of pop music on his own. And to say that it put some wind in his sails would be an understatement.
No, I feel lucky. I feel blessed.
And you got it quick. You didn't have to put 40 albums out before you got the joint.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 10 years in. I've been wanting it for 10 and working towards it for 10. I haven't been in the industry for 10.
You know how many years Jay-Z was in the game before he had a number one?
How many?
I believe it was Empire State.
It's my second number one. God's blessing me right now. There's timing, there's just good fortune, and then there's hard work and a lot of thought and care put into music.
Yeah.
While it was all going so well, what had felt like a note-perfect rollout was dealt a major blow when Churchill Downs, his first ever collab with his personal GOAT candidate, Drake, leaked.
It hurt my feelings. I'm really tight about leaks. I don't bounce my music, so I haven't had leaks in a long time. Especially because that's an idol of mine. I wanted to control that moment, but it's destiny.
What did Drizzy say about it?
I mean, he was sad too. He kind of, nudged me like, hey, don't trip.
Rattled, but by no means deterred, Jack carried on with the promotional push and promised the most complete representation of him as an artist to date.
You'll be able to hear a big difference between this one and the last one because I'm so involved in the production and the arrangements and the sound selection, the chord choices. I just had my hands all over this. I think I was picking some beats out of packs on the last project, and that would be the finished product. This time, everything was cooked from scratch. I wrote so many of the records while the beat was being made in front of me. Everything kind of came from this ground up situation. I one time read like the Beatles when they got to Rubber Soul, like they just got so much more hands on. I don't know if I'm in that space yet, but I'm definitely in a space where I'm open-minded and anything can happen to a song.
At the same time, he was...
And that's how it's supposed to be. You see...
everything else.
This is a voice rendition.
I feel like my boy Jack Harlow, he's realizing he wants to be more of an artist than, because you could be a pop artist and just sell. He can make just hits, but he wants to be an artist. He wants to be someone with substance. And I can respect that fully. I can respect that. So I get it.
He was bolstered by the industry on an industrial scale, and alongside Lil Durk remarking that told Jack Harlow a couple days ago he gonna do 200,000 first week. He also received the highest degree of praise that an artist can hope for from one of the legends assembled on the project.
This is history. I love everything we did, but this one here?
Yet, somehow, all of this external enthusiasm and personal ownership of the project hasn't translated to an outstanding record. And in some quarters, it was seen as actively unimaginative and a far cry from the major moment that it had been billed as.
For some odd reason, people immediately want to throw the Drake clone or the Drake lookalike on Jack Harlow simply because he makes what I would consider boy music.
Alright, so I want to take a quick break to thank our friends at Keeps.com. For anyone that's endured a battle with thinning or receding hair, you know that it could be a real uphill.
Hey, y'all have a long day, right? Y'all should go ahead and cop yourselves some merch, you know what I'm saying? The best merch around, It's the Tario or Atlanta Boy merch. Possibly from the upcoming album. Who knows? Let's just know this. This shit is comfortable as hell, bro. Real talk. It's comfortable as fuck. Y'all should really go get y'all some. Like, I'm not capping. Like, when this came in the mail, I was so happy. Actually, I really want to help y'all out. So, to season up the deal, go to my link in the description below, and you may get a percentage of it off. I'm just saying. With that being said, let's get back to our normal scheduled programming. And yeah.
Let's get back to the video.
This guy is nowhere near as nuanced and as layered as Drake was. None of the lines that Drake could normally spit in his earlier work or even at this very moment in his career to garner that comparison. That comparison is just downright disrespectful. It's apparent when we hear a track like Churchill Downs, where even after adding a couple of additional bars to his verse, the gap between him and Drake is so big that you need the Hubble Space Telescope to cover the distance. It's rare when the song that pops is your best song, but in Jack Harlow's case, it's actually true. What's Poppin' is literally the best thing I've ever heard from him, and even that song is mid. Every album since 18 has just been a reskin. With the exception of a few tracks off of That's What They All Say, everything that this album is exactly what Jack has been making. You can say y'all don't understand what happens when an artist has to go pop. He's never had to go pop. He's been pop.
But while Sean C has had a well-documented distaste for Harlow, even some of the outlets that had thrown their weight behind him were left similarly unmoved. The record doesn't feature a bunch of seminal tracks, read the NME review, instead packing filler between his knockout singles such as First Class. You find a gem or two here and there, but this collection's longevity is questionable. Shockingly, the review of his latest project closely mirrors what Pitchfork were saying about 2019's Confetti, with Alfonso Pierre writing that his music has no identity, but he has a natural charm and energy that helps you overlook the fact that you've heard countless albums like this before, just by different names. As such, it suggests that his artistic progression has reached a crossroads that he seems unsure of how to escape. On top of his decision to pen a lustful ode to a pop star not landing exactly how he intended, and the world feeling like he was completely outshone by Drake and Justin Timberlake on Churchill Downs and Parent Trap respectively, what will send alarm bells for the label is that this won't be the crowning moment in which he assets himself as a man with a #1 album. As per the most recent reports, Harlow is earmarked for 110 to 135,000 sales, a downgrade from the previous estimates of 180,000 to 200,000. Meanwhile, Hits Daily Double calculates that Un Verano Sin Ti, the latest from Bad Bunny, is estimated to open with 235.
My boys at work yesterday, it was blasting. I'm like, bruh, Bad Bunny cool, but damn. But I get it, you know what I'm saying? I get it.
To 260,000 sales. Facing the public indignity of an album that was so relentlessly gassed up falling short, DJ Academics draws a clear parallel between the quality of the album and the quantity of its sales. As when the first criteria isn't met, it can have a knock-on effect.
The 180 comes from Atlantic. So Atlantic is like, all right, yeah, we got him pegged for 180 based on the sales from this, based on whatever, based on the love the DSP is gonna give. His label thought he was gonna do 180. His label told the bigger conglomerate they were gonna do 180. This is what is a good thing about music. because every prediction meets the people and it meets the best promotion ever, word of mouth. You know, Future's real projection was like 170, 180, right? You know what Future ended up doing? 227. Why? People loved a lot of the songs and they realized how much they miss Future. This Jack Harlow projection is the same way. The label projected he was going to do 180. That 180 is turned into 120, 130. How are you losing 50K sales in the first week? It's because, by and large, most of the conversation about Jack Harlow's album is that it's mid. You're not going to do 180 if people ain't rocking with it. Jack Harlow's about to sell 50,000 under what he was projected before his album went out because he didn't deliver it.
Courtesy of this misfire, Harlow, for the first time in his career, has had to falter in full view of the public. Where his early career was low stakes and intended to simply entertain his classmates, he's on a much bigger stage now. And with everything he's achieved in recent years and the cult of personality that he commands, he should be reaping the rewards of that 10+ year journey. Instead, he finds himself in a quandary where the headline-making charm that he displays in his everyday life is absent from his projects. Instead, he falls afoul to the same traps that many commercially minded stars do, and that he sidelines an original flavor in favor of widespread appeal. And rather than delivering timeless tracks, the album seems as though it were engineered with Spotify playlists in mind, slipping seamlessly between other tracks on the charts. But while there's plenty of rappers that create with this intention, including, to some degree, his mentor in Drake, the real recurring thread in the criticism of his latest project is the lack of a distinct identity beyond the same old bars and recycled flows. Because if he ever wants to be seen as a great, this is something that he's got to address. Granted, this doesn't mean that all is lost. Despite the fact that he's been rapping for years at this point, it may well be teething problems. After all, the temptation to emulate your heroes rather than expanding on what they do is something that all of the greats past and present have to deal with, not least of all J. Cole.
I'm such a huge Eminem fan, and especially from his first 3 albums, I was like all the way in. You know what I mean? I'm still all the way in because he's still amazing. My first song I ever made was literally just biting Eminem and Nas. And if you go listen, you would hear both influences. And I feel like when you start rapping in the beginning, you really just take all your influences and you just rap like them.
Now left to face accusations that he essentially turned in a Drake album that misplaced the depth or penmanship that makes Drizzy's albums compelling, it's clear that the next time he drops, it'll have to be with a style of his own in tow. Despite the fact that he hit a pothole on the road to superstardom, one thing which Harlow still has in his favor is that he's easy to root for. A true student of hip-hop who's been working towards his dream for a decade, Jack recently tweeted that life lately has been a never-ending dream come true. And considering that all signs point to him being a genuinely nice person, it's heartening to hear him experience that with a genre that's often defined by conflict. But with that said, being pleasant isn't enough to sustain a career at the top. And if he ever wants to be mentioned in the same vein as the rappers he admires, or even hopes to be here in 5 years, then he has to go back to the drawing board and produce something in which his personality translates into the project. As otherwise, he's going to be stranded at his current stature in the game until he fizzles out. And in the words of Anthony Fantano,
so yeah, again, I think if this record shows anything, it's that Jack doesn't really have too much, artistically speaking, long game right now. You know, again, good in short bursts, but when we hear him try to really go the distance, all he ends up doing is showing us just how little he has to say. I'm feeling a light to decent 3 on this one.
I want to say this. Everybody may hate on him. Everybody may say they don't understand and stuff, but look at how many views it's got. That's what I was looking at. I'm like, yeah, he might have sold 50K less, but I mean, look at all the events and stuff he's doing. He's connecting with people. He's very likable, like y'all said. He's very likable. And I get it, you know, and no one took the place of Eminem. I doubt that. G-Eazy, hell no. Post Malone, fuck no. Macklemore, hell no. None of them niggas took Eminem place, bro. You know why? Because Eminem is an artist like Jay-Z. They don't come from this generation. They really don't come from this generation. They came from a generation when they could say the F word. They could say just about any word besides the N word. You know what I'm saying? You know, white boys, you know. And even black dudes. People rap about all types of fucked up shit back in the day. Nowadays, you can't rap about that stuff. You go to jail. Another thing. It's like Jack Harlow, I see him on all these shows doing this and doing that. He's even on like a Call of Duty commercial. My boy's doing shit. You know what I'm saying? If he lacks in one thing, he's gonna do in like he might be good in another thing, if that makes sense. Like he might lack in music at right now, but as of right now, I know he's doing acting gigs. I know he's doing live performances. He's doing these little small mini concerts and stuff. Excuse me. It's from the gummy worms, bro. But I'm just saying, like, I want to root for that dude. I believe in him. It's something odd, but I believe in him. That being said, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. You know, and what I said, stay positive. Don't be negative, bro. Chase your dreams. Granny might not do all your numbers. You gonna fuck up and fail, but I'd rather you fail in your young 20s than you fail in your 30s and trying to be a 30-year-old rapper. At least he made money. At least he be able to provide for his family. Cause shit, I'm trying to do the same, and I'm 19. So I could admire someone at least trying to go that extra step. You know, 'cause a lot of people don't do that.